And welcome back to the end of the year. It's been a very memorable year this year, very eventful, and unfortunately I haven't watched that many TV shows or films this year because last year of college really does a number on you. But I wanted to try and do something for the end of the year. I missed last month, so I'll try and make up for that eventually. But for now, I just want to try and actually do something for the year. So I figured, why not do something a little bit more fun rather than something more academic based? So just doing a top 10 list of best episodes of the year rather than going through each TV show because that's just a little bit more work. So to get this started, let's go with a few honorable mentions. Warning, this person does not watch every TV show in existence. Keep that in mind. This year has been busy.
There is a house built out of stone.
And your candidates for best episode of 2020: Hilda, For Dear Fox, Critical Soul, Bagman, Good Place, The Finale, The Boys, What I Know, Rick and Morty, Star Wars: Return of the Jerry. Gosh darn you guys, what's with the false puns? Oh no. Mandalorian, The Jedi, Star Wars: The Clone Wars, Victory and Death, Castlevania: The Harvest, My Hero Academia, Infinite 100%, and BoJack Horseman's finale. And the winner of 10th place goes to Rick and Morty.
Can I have the belt? It would really piss off Morty.
Fantastic idea.
So why does Rick and Morty get this spot? Well, Rick and Morty has had a weird season this year. It's not been its most consistent. Its episodes are here and there, but ultimately the finale of Rick and Morty actually does really well for itself. Most of this season has always been about demystifying, brutalizing, belittling Rick.
Holy shit, I'm a terrible father.
And there's a large extent to that's absolutely fair, but they go really ham on it
Okay, have fun, Pumpkin. Sorry, I'm a piece of shit father.
every single time. But I think when it comes to this theme that they're doing, it really works well when it comes to his relationship with Beth. I think that's really fun to see Beth argue and fight all the time. Not to mention that we have to learn what the whole thing about Beth is, about the whole clone thing, so that's really fun. And honestly, seeing Bird Person fight Rick is something we've been waiting for since we found out the return of Bird Person, or in this case, Phoenix Person, so that's something. That really is. I mean, it's great action sequences as well. Good comedy.
All right, state your terms.
Give back the belt, you take the goggles, go away, we trade in an hour.
Deal.
How do you like that, bitch?
I liked it more than my old belt.
Tiny Big Man Jr.?
We should have shared.
And really good payoff as well, which is really nice. These subplots, they're a little bit too meta. Constantly referring to arcs it's part of its motif. Not really my thing. I'd rather keep things more on the down low, but hey, it's meant to be meta, so let there be some meta at least. Also bear in mind that I really wanted to write an essay on what makes a good episode. But because of time and college, I just haven't got around to doing it. So I'll hopefully get that done eventually. And the winner of 9th place goes to The Boys. The Boys Season 2 finale was definitely something to watch and something to love. When I watched it originally, it was because my friends were doing certain games to have extra enjoyment towards it. But regardless of that, The Boys was very much fun to watch. It's a very exciting show, and it's really fun to see how it actually depicts and how it criticizes and how it philosophizes over the nature of superheroes as well as how they compare to real life. So that's a lot of fun, always a lot of fun. And seeing everything finally get resolved that was being built up for the last 2 seasons was really fun. And there's still more to come, don't get me wrong, there's very much more to come. Seeing the downfall of Homelander, it's very satisfying because I love Captain America, I love Superman, but I don't love this guy for obvious reasons. And I love how he just gets knocked down a peg as well. And seeing Stormfront, Seeing Stormfront just get annihilated. It's not satisfying to see someone just get brutalized to complete pulp, but considering what she's done, there is a magical justice to itself. Not real life justice, but definitely magical. And seeing what this world could become now that we've seen Blow person up and we figured out who that person is going to be very interesting as well. I love how Huey's trying to be a superhero in the normal world and do normal things, so that's always a nice thing to do. Oh, and I can't really say much about the whole girl power thing as well, to be honest. It's just, you're forcing it too much. Even if you're critiquing it as well, you're still forcing it too much. But I do love how things do end more on a positive note in this season, where May finally gets an upper hand. Finally we see Starlight get more positive and more optimistic and becomes more of a thing when she was originally, and that's very much nice to see. Alright, and for the winner of 8th place goes to Castlevania The Harvest. So what's to say about Castlevania? What's the reasons why this episode actually does anything good? For one thing, compared to the other seasons, it's a lot more serialized, and it's a lot more eventful, and the climax really feels earned. That's one of the most important things when it comes to this episode. It actually feels earned. And I have to say, it's kind of funny how it takes the two serious topics of film that's always been discussed about and always been a taboo, sex and violence, and have each of the action-packed, violent, gory scenes intercut with really detailed lovemaking. Truth be told, didn't enjoy it the first time around when I watched this episode, because I just didn't understand Isaac's role and Isaac's plots. It just kind of felt left field towards everything else. But so when I watched it the second time around, I have to say, it was so much better. It really was. But be fair though, this is just a very me thing, but every time I watched the show, I had my hat on. So every time the violence scenes were on, I would watch it. But every time the sex scenes were on, I would put my hat down. So it just became an in the mix game of woo, ah, woo, ah, woo, ah. And finally left over hangover of the promise of Dracula coming back. And the winner for 7th place is the Jedi in The Mandalorian. So what's the good reasons about this? It isn't actually about Ahsoka. Despite the fact Ahsoka is a fun part of it, it was just unnatural and normal to see a character go from young to old, a little bit older but still young, and then a lot older. Is just weird, especially when it's not in chronological order. But it wasn't even seeing Ahsoka. It was actually learning more about how Grogu, yes, Grogu, we have the official term for the name and the baby, and we finally have that, and we finally see how well he's done, really, with Mando and how they've actually grown and seeing this progression. But I think I have to say this is the sole reason why I think it's number 7. It isn't because of Ahsoka, it's because of what it means to Star Wars. The thing about Star Wars is that it's very much inspired by two genres. Okay, yes, it's inspired by sci-fi, but specifically I want to mention the highlights of the samurai movie and the western. This was very crucial for the original Star Wars. Lightsabers are very much about trying to imitate the samurai movie, because that's what George Lucas was inspired by. But it's not only the samurai movies, it is also the western movies that he's very much inspired by. Han Solo being that kind of idea, the Lone Ranger kind of person. And honestly, it's just so satisfying seeing the two fight scenes of the samurai versus the cowboys, and it's so fascinating. The whole setup is just so much like a samurai movie, so much like a western movie. The winner of 6th place goes to My Hero Academia for Infinite 100%. This is by far my favorite arc within My Hero, simply because this arc is the most personal that we've seen with My Hero Academia. Every other arc, it's a lot less personal. I mean, it's somewhat personal, but it doesn't really get the same range. We see the League of Villains, but they're not really targeting Deku. Deku's involved, but he's not focused. This is way more focused on Deku, because Deku made a mistake, same with Lemillion, and it's so much more impactful because of it. When it comes to the climax, seeing Deku get so intense and so serious about this, that he goes into what would be considered a Super Saiyan mode in this case in anime, but for the one time, it's absolutely phenomenal. He gets to explore his full range and capacity of his powers, and the beauty of it as well. It's just perfect. It's It's just so climactic, so well paced. It's just everything that you want. It's so exciting. Just to see him go full Colin is amazing. Really, really amazing. And the winner for 5th place goes to Hilda for Deer Fox. If you're judging me for this, you haven't seen this show. In which case, go watch the show because it actually is quite fun. You know, it's not moody, it's not trying to be edgy or dramatic, it's just a lot of heart, and it's just great because of it. And this episode, I have to put it in because it did actually make me cry. It's just a really emotional, very true to life kind of episode. It's one of those episodes that very much a emotional tale. It's from the perspective of the animal. And we often see this stuff once in a while. And because it's always silence, it means that you have to fill in the gaps. And that's one of the best things about film. Is that we're not meant to be told what the story is. We're meant to be shown what the story is. And when episodes of more focus on this, focus on a character who doesn't speak, it's fantastic. You get a lot more out of it. You get a lot more emotion, you get a lot more story, you get a lot more impressions, and the audience gets to fill in the gaps a lot more. Because we're so focused on dialogue, and dialogue it's cheaper to do for film and TV shows, we forget that film is a visual medium. And for number 4 goes to Better Call Saul for Bagman. I have to admit, I haven't watched it in a while, but because I still remember it, I still remember this episode because compared to all the other Better Call Sauls, they kind of blend together, but Bagman stands out, and I really love that about it. It stands out. It's an outstanding episode. It shows the depths of Saul and how far he's willing to go for this, and it puts him into extreme pressures and high stakes, and that's just great for plot. And it's an incredible amount of urgency that goes with it, and the goal is still so simple to understand. And seeing the main characters that usually have separate storylines and usually don't interact with one another in a big way, it's really satisfying. Like I mentioned earlier, when it came to the Deer Fox, it doesn't rely too much on dialogue. It's very much more on the visual aspect and using the editing and using the sounds to its best benefits. And we have our last 3 candidates for the top episodes of 2020. We have BoJack Horseman, the finale, Star Wars The Clone Wars, Victory and Death, and The Good Place, finale. And the winner of 3rd place goes to Star Wars The Clone Wars, Victory and Death. It is a gut punch. It is heartbreaking. Compared to the prequels, which are, I'll admit, disappointing. If we put it in simple terms, they are just disappointing. But when it comes to the actual Clone Wars, when it comes to being able to see these characters on screen, seeing different aspects of the Clone Wars, it's fantastic. And seeing Ahsoka being framed in the center is perfect because she is pretty much the protagonist of the Clone Wars. It's really Ahsoka who flourishes the most in this because she is the character for the show. She was designed for this. She gets to experience the wars and impacts the most. And the same when it comes to the clones themselves. Movies, the clones are the clones. They're just people to be shot at, people to use. But in the show, we actually get to see these people. We get to bond with a lot. And seeing Rex torn so much over having to shoot his own people, his own brothers, is astonishing. And seeing how it connects to the grand scale of things when it came to the actual Order 66 and seeing that how it would play out, it's heartbreaking. It really is. And seeing Ahsoka on her own and having to say goodbye to everyone that she loved and she cared for and she rooted for and she fought with, it's breathtaking. And the final shot of the heads, holy crud, it's just cinematic beauty. And next 2 episodes, I am going to explain both of them without knowing which one's which. And I'll crown which one of these episodes is actually going to be the best one. So, let's start with BoJack Horseman. What's so good about it? The finale is the finale. The best thing about this BoJack Horseman is that it finally finishes. Not that sounds like it's a bad thing that it actually finishes, but no. It finishes wonderfully. It sticks with the philosophy of the show.
Life's a bitch and then you die, right?
Sometimes. Sometimes life's a bitch and then you keep living.
It sticks with everything it's trying to stand for and everything to be with. It shows real improvement.
Not bad.
Honest improvement, honest relationships, and how even through tragedy there can be a beauty to itself. And even though through the hardships and the aches and that everything doesn't end up perfect, that we can be better. That human flourishing doesn't stop, it keeps going, and that's what's so amazing about it. seeing everyone say goodbye, everyone having their own little segments within the episode, being able to have their final words with BoJack Horseman for the finale, and compared that to The Good Place, which also does the same theme of death and how to deal with it. It's very beautiful. It's such a touching episode to see the characters progress. And just like BoJack, it shows that it takes years and years for someone to finally get to the peak of their existence. And it's amazing. Really is. Seeing everyone progress in the right way for themselves, seeing them able to say goodbye and be able to cap their lives off perfectly fine, and seeing Eleanor and Chi-Chi finally happy together and be able to move on with each other's lives and be able to grow and flourish because of it. And also the callbacks. There were just so many callbacks. Similar to BoJack Horseman's finale. To say which is the best out of these two episodes for the finale for 2020, I would have to go with BoJack Horseman. BoJack Horseman is, don't get me wrong, these shows are great, but when it comes to BoJack Horseman, I felt it the most. Even after the finale. It was so impactful. I could feel it so long afterwards. In the middle of class, on my way to work, on my way back to home, I still could feel the emotions. I could feel that intensity, the shock value. I still felt it. It still lived with me for so long. And compared to all the others, I never had the same impact when it comes to these episodes. They're still good. I mean, I watched The Good Places from season 1 to season 4, and the finale felt impactful, but BoJack Horseman knew how to linger, and it was a good lingering. It was a sorrowful lingering, but I was happy being sad. It was quite beautiful. And that is why BoJack Horseman's finale takes the cake.
But isn't the point of art less what people put into it and more what people get out of it?
So, thank you for watching this with me. Thank you for listening. And hopefully I'll be able to make actual more academically based episodes. I actually really want to try and do some more work on it, but I have to also at the same time finish college and try and get my life together before I can do this as well, because this is just something more for fun at this stage. And I really do want to try and make something more constructive, something that actually give writers or filmmakers advice. And honestly, I could use my advice myself. I need to get into the industry a lot more, but I have an academic base. I know how to analyze a film, so I'm gonna have fun with that for a while until I can become a filmmaker myself. Who knows what's going to happen in the future? Everything's up and down, but you got to keep fighting for it. You can never give up. And with that, I give you 2021. Peace.